All right, let me be real with you. Everyone and their brother is out here throwing around the word AI like it's going to save their business. But 99% of what I'm seeing is just fluff, it's bots, it's hype, and it's garbage. And that's why I brought in these guys who are actually in the trenches building real AI sales infrastructure that converts. Kevin Jacobson Jr. and Joshua Collier are the co-founders of Leverage AI and the hosts of the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast. And in this episode, we're going to call out the BS. We're going to talk about what's actually working, and we're going to break down why this game is actually really hard, but still worth playing. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Million Dollar Marketing. I'm your host, Jodi Sodini. This is the podcast for marketers, founders, and CEOs who are done playing small. Today's episode is a little bit unfiltered, a little bit hilarious, and packed with actual systems that are helping brands scale without burning out. I'm joined by Kevin and Josh, the co-founders of Leverage AI, a company building end-to-end AI systems that don't just look pretty, they actually make you money. And they also host the Entrepreneurship Sucks podcast, which is basically locker room therapy for business owners. It's no fluff, no fake it till you make it energy. It's just straight talk about what it really takes to build something that lasts. I was fortunate enough to be on their podcast, and now we're reciprocating. They're coming on mine. I'm super excited. So if you've ever wanted to automate sales without losing that human touch, or just need someone to tell you, yeah, this is hard, but you're not crazy, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome.
What's up?
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
It's
for
been a
sure.
long time coming. It's been like a month or so since you were on ours, so I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, same. I want to know first, where did the name Entrepreneurship Sucks come from? It's bold, it's real. Who said it first? And did anyone try to talk you out of using it?
No, actually, we were just like, what are we going to call the podcast? And our coach, Josh 40, we were on a coaching call actually, and we were talking about like getting the podcast up and running. We had already been running Leverage for maybe a year or so, so we were already in business. And I was like, let's call it Entrepreneurship Sucks. And he's like, yes, that. He's like, that is perfect. I'm like, all right then. And I
Yep.
sketched out the logo on my notebook right then and there, sent it off to a guy on Fiverr. We were in business within probably
That
like
was
10
it.
minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so nobody had any pushback. There was no second thought. There was no nothing. It was, you pitched it and it was a home run, and it landed.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah. It was
And it's been
amazing.
the foundation of a lot of really great conversations. You guys
Yeah.
have had some amazing people on your podcast.
Yeah,
Yes, we
absolutely.
have.
It's been
One of
really
our
exciting.
first guests was Eli Wild, which was nuts. Like we were just starting our podcast. Yeah, we've had some awesome guests, Brian Delaney, a couple others. It's been fun. We're like
Really
just coming.
cool.
We just celebrated our 1 year of the podcast.
So I did too. Just a couple episodes ago, I hit 1 year, just about 45 episodes, something like that. So yeah, I was almost consistently at one per week. Fell off a
Almost.
little bit, but
Yeah.
let's shift over
Yeah,
to Leverage. Yeah, go ahead.
we're a little off and on, but then when we went to FHL and then we went to the Bad Marketing Black Tie event, we had that freaking Iron Man Cybertruck and all, and so that we're still interviewing podcast guests since FHL. I haven't had to invite anybody new still.
Yeah, I'm still leveraging that as well. The connections that I had from there, like just had Dan Henry on a couple weeks ago, and that was
I saw that.
that reignited kind of, friendship conversation. I've known Dan for so long, but it was great to see him in person
Mm.
and be able to leverage that. So speaking of
Yeah.
leverage, I want to shift over to leverage. Let's give me the short version of what you do and why your AI systems are not just another chatbot.
Yeah. Short answer is this. Joshua and I have a combined like 30 something years sales experience, closing, setting, managing, running sales teams, coaching sales teams. And so, we originally met on a sales team, and the bottleneck we were trying to solve for ourselves internally, it was a 2 Comma Club winning sales team. And we had hundreds of clients that we were recruiting, training, and placing with appointment setters. And so this was birthed out of solving an internal problem. I had worked for Matt DeCino. So I had a previous run as an entrepreneur, top 1% Shopify stores for traffic in the world. It was great. And then like COVID, my wife got pregnant with twins. A lot of life changes happened all at once. So I went back to sales for a couple of years before starting my next business and figuring out what was going to work with this new life. And so I worked for Matt DeCino for about a year at HL Pro Tools and ZappyChat. And ZappyChat wasn't AI yet, but it was booking calls on my calendar. It was like logic flow, like if this, then that. And they had it built out in a way where we didn't have any setters. My calendar was packed, 16 30-minute calls a day, all day, every day. We had no setters. But then I wanted to sell higher ticket before I started my next business. I'm like, I need to be like good closing at least like 30, 50K packages before I start my next business because I want to be really high ticket this time around.
Yeah.
And that's where Joshua and I met. And we had human setters. And I was spoiled from this whole year of working for Matt with no setters. I'm like, this is wildly efficient. Like the churn and burn of the setters, not only the process of like the bandwidth that it takes to have hundreds of conversations and do it consistently and well, and being an entry level position where you don't really have a lot of skills. And if you do, you're a closer already. But all that combined with the fact that they were either finding closing roles elsewhere very quickly or getting let go very quickly because they weren't really good at it. And so, yeah, we ultimately decided we were going to pay ZappyChat to custom build something for us. And then we spent this is where it comes in, why we're kind of different from everybody else, is what we quickly realized is tech built by tech people works, but tech built by salespeople actually converts. And we spent the next 10 months taking what we paid for them to build and actually dialing it in so that it was trained well and knew how to set. Because we were setting for a coaching company a lot more nuances, emotions, like tonality, like all the different things that, like, because you're dealing with people directly instead of just selling a service, right? And so there was a lot of training and ideating. We became accidental experts at this stuff and then kind of, decided to take on our first couple clients, and the rest was history.
Yeah, I love that. What's wild to me is how so many business owners actually have thousands of leads sitting on their email list or in a cold database somewhere. And you guys are really good at turning that into revenue. So tell me about that. What's working well with reactivation campaigns or AI sequences that turn those dead leads into revenue?
Yeah, great question. It really depends on such a marketer answer. It depends, on what the situation is, where the leads came from, and also what assets are available to the company. People like Myron Golden says, why do people buy? Because they feel like it. And the whole premise here is how good are you at, and Kevin's really good at this, finding reasons to get people's attention and giving them a good enough reason to give it to you and then to engage with you. And so what really works well right now, I mean, obviously, aside from the obvious, which is being able to reach a lot of people at once and then automate the follow-up, the engagement, the follow-up, the qualification, and then the call to action of that conversation. But the hard part is knowing what is going to be the thing that gets their attention, that is specific to the avatar, that speaks to them where they are, that's valuable, and that would actually give them a reason to respond to you.
Yeah, yeah, to re-engage. And Jody, right before we hopped on, you had mentioned like people will spend money on billboards and don't even know what the ROI is or what the data is on like that investment. And I think the main difference between like your standard like GHL workflows, stuff like that, is like I view that as a billboard, right? Like, I mean, you should see, and everybody's pretty much the same, like how many texts I ignore a day, right? That are coming from companies. I don't even read them. Versus And that's a billboard, right? It's a digital billboard that comes to your phone that you signed up for at one point versus a two-way conversation, like engaging someone into reactivating them into a sales conversation again, right? And, getting their attention and incentivizing them in some way that aligns with the original reason that they opted in, right? So, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
and you know a lot about that, but the main thing is our experience in sales on hundreds, if not thousands of offers at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then supporting, well, so after that, like 8 or 10 months or so that we became like accidental experts at like making Zappy Chat convert well, OpenAI came out with their API, and overnight, Matt and Graham and Andrew were like, our projected numbers for Q4 2023 just 10x, and we're like churning at like 50%. So we need like people that we can trust to come in and support our community so we can get this, put this fire out, because
Mhm.
OpenAI became the like big viral push, and they were promoting that it was true AI now, and they didn't anticipate how many people were going to come in organically off of that. And so we started supporting their community, running support calls 3 times a week, and we did that for like a year and a half and helped get them down to an 11% churn rate. And you can imagine 3 support calls a week for over a year and a half, like how many GHL agency owners, businesses that we've helped troubleshoot their stuff. So like we talked about right again before we hopped on, like the data, like the amount of data that you can collect, and like the reps. Like it's funny because like sometimes people are like, who's your competition or anything like that. And I'm like, I honestly don't view anyone as competition, not in the most humblest way possible, because of our combined sales experience and because of all the reps we have in like troubleshooting and seeing what works and what doesn't, like rapid
Yeah.
fire for a year and a half across thousands of users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk conversion because this is $1 million marketing. We don't just chase vanity metrics, right? Where do you see businesses dropping the ball in terms of conversion rate optimization? Because I think that's a really big opportunity here. Like, what are the fixes that are seemingly simple, probably for you guys, right? But what are some of the simple fixes that they can make in order to have a big impact on CRO?
Yeah. So first of all, I swear, businesses just assume that people want their stuff just because they raise their hand. That's one thing.
Mm,
Like nobody cares. Like, so one thing is like just not like, Josh 40 has like ingrained in my head with like you can get away with anything if you have a good enough reason.
mhm.
And so like you have to have a reason. People think they can just like send out a text and like say, hey, sale. Nobody cares. It's 2025. It is loud out here, right?
Yeah.
You have to step it up. There has to be a reason every stage of the pipeline, right? Every potential bottleneck drop off point, there needs to be something moving the needle forward beyond just, hey, you opted in. You said you
Mhm.
wanted this. I mean, that is like
Mhm.
principally the way that I would say you need to start viewing things for your business. But like, when it comes to AI specifically, like tactically, we do incentive marketing. We do
Scarcity, all those
yeah,
different levers that you
urgency,
can pull.
scarcity, yeah, and then like knowing which at what points in the pipeline stages are important to use text, and what people will just continue to follow up because it's easy to build out these workflows and you just keep on following up via text and keep on following up. It's ridiculous. Versus like, okay, if they don't respond more than twice via SMS, now our voice AI is giving them a call, right? And now we're trying to re-triage them. And like you have to continue to qualify, continue to like re-engage them. Again, it just comes back to like thinking that just because they opted in that they're sold. And it's
Mhm.
just a matter of getting them on a call. It's not.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of best practices that we've learned after doing about 150 different custom builds, like over 100 different industries. And speed to lead is the main reason people want AI. Got to strike while the iron's hot, right? But then there's the other nuances of things like, Jodi, how many times back and forth do you actually want to go with an appointment setter, human or AI,
Mm.
before you actually reach a call to action? How much qualification is too much qualification? Where do you
Mhm.
draw the line between
Mhm.
what can we discover via chat versus what can we just leave for the conversation with the closer?
Yeah.
So
It's
that's another
establishing like
aspect
how
of
much
it.
friction is too friction,
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
friction
Yes.
is too much friction, right? Because you
Or
want to
not
have
enough.
enough
Like there's
friction
half.
to qualify. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we're having
we're working with
delays.
some, that's okay. We got to give each other a little grace. Just an example, we're working on a proposal right now for a client. They have not enough friction. They have lots of leads, and it's just a very passive kind of, conversation. Like they'll get the asset, and then they'll follow up a little while later, and then it's just, there's not enough leadership. There's not enough challenging. And so what that does is
Oh,
low call
yeah.
rates or unqualified leads showing up on calls. So
Yeah.
getting
I
that
mean,
right,
specifically, Jody, we're talking about they're selling 2,000 books a month and they're only converting 5% of those people into booked calls. They already bought the
Yeah.
book.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
yeah. So stuff
Yep.
like
Not
that.
enough
And
friction there.
there's just these principle level, like Josh talks about, first principles thinking. There's a lot of first principles that are ignored when understanding how to structure a sales process to begin with. And that's where our background coming into AI was super helpful, because we understood from
Yeah.
the fundamental perspective what actually moves somebody from cold to sold. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You have to understand that. Okay. Real talk. What's the biggest lie that people are buying right now when it comes to AI in their business?
The biggest lie is that it's a set it and forget it. This isn't that freaking infomercial with that annoying guy with that rotisserie chicken or whatever. Like it's not a set it and forget it thing. It is a leverage mechanism, right? So we have one client, they're $150 million a year alternative business lender. And we've built out two AI systems for them. The first one we built out and they were about to hire 30 to 50 more salespeople. They had a 55-person sales team. Right before they got in front of us, they were about to put out, posting and bring on 30 to 50 more salespeople because they had about 600,000 leads that had accumulated over the past 3 years that didn't convert. And so instead, we built out an AI system. I mean, we stopped kind of tracking the results at $1 million. The AI system brought in an additional $1 million in revenue in the first like 70 something days of being live.
Mm.
And so, but the reason I tell you that, and like, anywhere from a coach, like we have one fitness coach in Australia who just runs all his marketing on Instagram, solopreneur, right? All the way up to a $150 million company. And the number one thing that makes all of their campaigns successful versus the year and a half we spent supporting the ZappyChat community, which is just SaaS users that were thinking that they could just set this thing and leave it. And
Mhm.
it wasn't working for them. Is that
Mhm.
this thing is not out of the box smart. It is out of the box knowledgeable. That is not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. The set it and forget it thing. I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners have this pie in the sky idea that, that you can set something up like that and then forget it. It's sort of like, I mean, I just had Sarah on the podcast and she does the webinars, right? There's so much iteration that has to happen and optimizations when it comes to the ads and the traffic and the funnel and then the webinar. Like, I don't think anything in business is set it and forget it. It's
Yeah.
things are always evolving and always
Yeah.
changing. We talk about her 10x, 2x thing, right? 10x promises worked 5, 6 years ago. They're
Mm-hmm.
not now. People are onto
Yep.
us. So you can't just get into a habit of a certain strategy and then never change it. So yeah, same is true with AI and how you leverage that in your business.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
once we
that's great.
build it and train it, we monitor it with them. Usually we work with clients for an initial 90 days minimum. And then even if they want to take it internally and manage it themselves, like let's say they have a 10-person sales team, right? Like clients and communities, at one point I worked for them, and they had, I think it was like 6 setters and 1 closer at the time, right? And so for a client like that, I would say, take your 6 setters, take the bottom 2 and put them on a PIP, take the top 2, make them closers, and then put the middle 2 on monitoring the AI conversations. Now,
Mhm.
instead of each setter being able to manage maybe 100 to 200 conversations, and maybe not even that effectively because there's a bandwidth issue there, right? There's only so many, like you're missing who's hot, who's cold. You're spending more time with a cold person than you are with a hot person. You missed an opportunity because the tire kicker was messing, just BSing you, right? And now those 2 setters can monitor 1,000, 2,000 conversations. The two that are on the PIP, maybe they get ramped up, maybe they get let go. Now the two that are your best setters, now they become closers. Now with that
Yeah.
same team, you can 2, 3, 4x your revenue without having to expand your team. That's
Mhm.
that.
And that's why it's called leverage.
Yeah. And that was Joshua. Like I came up with the entrepreneurship sucks, like out of just off the top of my dome. He just was like, let's call it leverage. And I was like, I like it. Let's do it.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh.
we had to mess with the spelling because so many websites already were taken for leverage. So it ended up being LEVRG, but we landed on it and we love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it too. I like it too. All right, I'm going to make a big pivot here, you guys. We're going to
Okay.
talk about something other than business.
On
So,
Million Dollar
one thing I
Marketing
actually really
Podcast.
respect about you guys is how both of you are grounded in your faith and in your family, and how that actually fuels your business instead of competing with it. So, how do you lead from that place in the middle of such a fast moving, noisy space?
I'll answer first because mine is probably going to be a lot shorter than Kevin's because I don't have a wife or kids. You know, I heard a quote one time and it was, if you're an entrepreneur and you want balance, go do yoga because you're not going to find it running a business. I think that it's just you make time for what's important, and family is important too, and business is important too. It's our why. And for me recently, I wrote down on like my morning stuff that I read is at the top. You know, when you have a wife and kids, it's easy to be very cognizant and aware. These people rely on me. But when you don't
Mhm.
realize there's people relying on you. And so I have it at the top of my stuff. I'm like, people who are relying on me. And I have 20 total, 20 people that are relying on Joshua to be the best version of myself. So I just imagine them in my mind's eye, like, looking at me. Every decision I make, I'm like, would this be disrespectful to their belief in me? And that is what fuels me, and that is what drives me at this point. I used to not have that. I just recently came up with that from seeing Kevin flew up to Connecticut, and like that's a deep conversation that we had. But like
Hmm.
that's what drives me at this point, amongst other things. But like that's how family ties into what I do as an
Yeah,
entrepreneur now.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Jody, I mean, we got a bunch of kids, right? Like, we don't have a choice. I mean, I've been, growing up in an alcoholic home. My brothers were born when I was 9 and 11 years old. I've been a half parent since I was 9. So I've been like, I got my first job to buy school clothes for my brothers. That was one of the main motivators. I got an under the table job on a farm when I was 14 over the summer so that they could go back to school with nicer school clothes than they had the last year. And it's
Mm.
been that ever since, like, secretly buying their Christmas presents because my mom couldn't afford it.
Hmm.
And then, from there, like, so most of my life is like, I think I mentioned to Joshua or whatever, I'm like, I wish I had somebody to rely on. I mean, my grandparents, and they're not going to be here for much longer. So I've been like at the top of the pyramid in every circle I'm in most of my life. It's just a part of my shit. So, and I love it.
Yeah, I understand that. It's my personality is a take charge, overcompensate, overfunction, do all the things. And like if I quit and the plate stops spinning, everything's going to crash down. So I
You're
feel
literally the
that
one that
pressure.
just runs right into the fire, right?
Literally. Thank goodness not anymore. I will never. But yeah, definitely like that rescuer challenger personality that I have
Hmm.
that I think a lot of entrepreneurs we have that I'm not going to be a victim of my circumstances. I'm not going to be a victim of even your circumstances. I'm going to take charge and I'm going to do what needs to get done because like that's like quitting, failure, not an option. It's just not.
Yeah.
And I think a huge part of that is, man, sometimes we have to take a deep breath and look at all of this and say, regardless of whether I succeed or fail or pause or expect other people to carry their own weight, I am innately valuable because of who God says I am, not because of what I bring to the table.
Hmm. Yeah. I
I
mean,
love that.
something that this may just be me brainwashing myself. It may not even be true, but I believe it. So it's real in my life is that I'm divinely guided and protected, and I'm here to do that for everyone who relies on me. So
Yeah.
that's my
I don't,
reality.
that's not brainwashed. I believe that too. I
No,
absolutely believe that.
no.
I believe that everything that happens to me is ultimately for my good
And
and
your
for his
growth.
glory.
Yep. Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Even all the crap.
Mhm.
Whew. All right. I didn't realize we were going to go there.
I
That was
love it.
good. So sticking on the personal side of things a little bit, I guess business and personal, but what's been like what's been the hardest entrepreneurship sucks moment in your business lately? I know that there's been some journey, right? Of some real good highs and some real low lows, but like lately, what has there been anything that's had you question it all? And how did you move through it? Let's hear that.
Yeah,
I
Joshua
certainly
had
have.
one of these moments recently. I haven't had one recently, but he definitely did.
Kevin is calloused from in a sense.
I think you say that in the most loving way.
Oh, I do. Absolutely. He knows that. It's just he's gotten screwed over in business a lot more times by sheer experience than I have. Mine have just they've just been personally challenging. We let go of our team recently, the one that managed all of the clients that we've had up until this point. I had a bit of a crisis moment where I was like still trying to work with the systems that they built, but I didn't understand it. And then I felt discouraged for like the first time ever in this business. I've always been operating from more power than less power, if that makes sense. But I had this point where I felt like I was losing my power and it was just slipping away from me. And I was nothing I could do to gain control of it. What I did was I rebuilt all the client systems that were on the old platforms and then rebuilt them. And that was challenging because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I had to I like jumped off a cliff and I'm like,
Remember,
we're going to make this happen.
and remember,
Yeah.
I reminded you like when you were like in that existential crisis, right? I was like, gosh, who built all this shit originally, right? Before we had a team, who was the person who was doing the building? It was you.
Yeah.
It's
So,
one of those, you can do this. Like, you've got
yeah,
this.
and like I
Yeah.
was
That's a
reliant on
pitfall of delegation and team, though. Like,
it is.
yeah, you delegate and you get too complacent, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're not who you were when you got here, like or what who you were that got you here, because
Yes.
you're
I
not
feel,
doing the reps.
yep. Yep. Got to get
It's
in and do
funny,
some of the
Jody.
reps sometimes so you don't lose that. So you don't lose that. Okay. Lightning round. Okay.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind. What's the most underrated AI tool or trick?
Most underrated AI tool or trick.
Clip
Great.
that. Clip that one. That was good.
Most overrated. All right. Most overrated piece of business advice.
Overrated piece. 4-hour work week.
Yeah. You got one,
Yeah.
Josh?
Most overrated piece of business advice.
Overrated piece of business advice.
I would say, I mean, a lot of people talk about who, not how, and I agree to an extent, but that's what's came back and bit me in the ass. So I would
Hmm.
say figure out some of the how so that when you hire the who, you know what they're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a really good last rapid fire question that kind of builds on that. What's one system every founder should have before they hire another person?
Mm.
From my experience, having because sales and marketing comes and goes, right? And it changes. But how you deliver results for your clients needs to be set in stone and mastered from an executive level first, documented thoroughly, every nuance, every detail of the what goes into it so that there's no variables that could create outcomes or outliers so that when you bring people in that everybody is on the same page. It's like the 10 commandments.
The outliers will get you every time, you guys. Every time. Okay. This has been really, really great. I know that my audience is going to want to binge your show after this. So, where should they start? Which Entrepreneurship Sucks episode do you recommend other than mine for listeners?
Yours.
I mean, yeah, we've had a lot of fun episodes, man. I mean, I don't know, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if you want to laugh, go watch the episode with me and Joshua and Reef Coleman. You know, he's a good friend of ours, and we were just like breaking balls and having a great time. It was hilarious. And like the one with Eli Wild is awesome. Lots of value in there.
Josh Lyons.
Josh Lyons was a really value driven episode around sales
Mm,
psychology. Closing, probably by the time this airs, our 2-part interview with Onyx Singal will be out. That one's awesome. Got a lot
That
of
was
great
good.
oh,
guests.
yeah.
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 If you're interested in like Kevin said, if it depends what you're looking for, like health with Dr. Reese, Dr. Kevin
Yep.
Reese we just had on, David Adam Kurz talks about his transfer. His first episode was about having a heart attack. Entrepreneurship gave me a heart attack. And then his second episode was about from Marine to an ayahuasca retreat and how that totally changed his life. It is an incredibly interesting story.
That sounds interesting. See what I told you, Josh? I don't watch TV. I binge people's podcasts and content. It's so much better.
Sorry. Suits
I
is
don't know.
amazing.
I gotta watch Suits though. Gotta go watch that. Okay, last thing for the founder listening right now who's in the messy middle, trying to scale without losing themselves, what would be a piece of advice that you would give them?
In the messy middle, I would say this: you are far better off. Like, you'll get a much better return on your investment, your time investment, money investment on improving yourself. I know it's so cliche. Like, everything is an outward reflection of you. So if there are problems in your team, in your, results with your clients, everything is a mirror. Like, find what it is that is being mirrored outwardly in your business and fix it internally. If you are not good at managing your time, your team will not be good at managing their time. Like, you cannot lead from a place of lack. So just focus on you, and everything else will reflect that. Continue to grow. Like,
I love that.
And like, you got to go through it to get through it. Like, I tell Joshua like a lot, and he's come a long way on this, but like, stop optimizing for comfort. Like, stop thinking that there's a finish line. Like, it's like 75, your business is 75 hard. Just like lean into the hardest shit, the shit you hate the most. Lean into it and make it become the thing that you have the muscle memory to tolerate, and expand your vessel so that you don't hate it anymore, or you're at least good enough at it where you can delegate it and not have to deal with it anymore. But don't delegate it before you face it, because it will be hell to pay.
Yeah. Wow.
That's fire.
That's great. Great advice. It reminds me of my good friend and mentor, Alex Sharfin, who's going to be officiating Marley's wedding. Marley and Steve, I guess they're both getting married. But I was in his mastermind for a while, and one of the quotes that stuck with me is, if you don't have the business that you want yet, you haven't become the person that you need to be in order to have that business.
100%.
And so
that's so good.
And so that's why, like, one of my kind of North Stars for me is like just achieving that 1% better every day. How can I show up better for my team? How can I show up better for my family? How can I show up better for my clients? Just 1% better every day. By the end of the year, you're 365% better.
That's right. I love it.
Life, business, like everything. Like, there's it's the club bouncers, right? Like, if you're not VIP, you can sneak in, but you will get caught and you will get bounced out. Like, you have to be that person. You can get in the room, but who do you have to be to stay in the room, to be respected in the room, to lead the room?
Yeah. Do you know who's a good example of that? 40.
Absolutely.
Josh 40.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
All right. I'll make sure he comes and listens to this episode. We'll get some extra credit.
Yeah, we plugged him enough times.
All right.
All right, you guys, if this episode lit a fire under you like it did for me, or maybe you feel just a little bit less alone in the chaos, share it with a founder or friend who needs to hear this. Go follow Kevin and Josh over at entrepreneurshipsuckspodcast.com. Check out Leverage AI if you're ready to stop ghosting your own pipeline that you've worked so hard to grow. And hey, if you haven't already, subscribe to $1 Million Marketing, leave a review, come back next week and watch next week's episode. We're building smarter systems, better marketing, and more honest conversations right here. I will see you soon.